I am doing swell. We were just discussing in the pregame show, though, that my son does not know who SpongeBob SquarePants is, which is troublesome. Chat and guys, chat. We want to talk with you tonight. Seth, I know now is when we normally show off our hobby progress, and guess what? I don't have anything worth showing. I finished my Dino army. I did those Seraphon army, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I love them. But this week I've just spent time doing all the little like upgrades for different units. Like 10th edition, all the upgrades are free, so I'm having to make plasma rifles for my guardsmen, put sponsoons on the sides of my tank. So nothing worth showing. But what about you, dude? Have you been busy this week? All right. Oh, look at them. There we go. Boom. Oh, are you spamming Hearthguard? Is that your thing? Is that your special sauce? Oh, 20. 20 is not. No, 20 is a very reasonable number. You can do it. You can do it. I have faith in you, my friend. Uh-oh, let's get Seth alive. So Seth is showing off his Votan right now. They're a beautiful army. He's got an RTT coming up, so he's rushing to get his
Okay,
Votan
how
ready.
about there?
For
How about there, chat? I
yeah,
think I
can you
got
hear
it.
it? Chat, tell us Seth is
When
live.
we hiccuped, and it forgot my audio source, but we unhiccuped.
You're on hiccup. There we go. That's a medical term, right? You're a
It's
doctor.
true.
You,
I
you,
am.
you know
I
these
am.
things.
But
Unhiccuping is a thing.
as I was saying in the chat, I painted 10 Hearthguard. I've got 10 more Hearthguard and 10 Berserkers, 2 characters, and 2 special weapons on my paint table, all of which have to be finished before Saturday for an RTT. So I am striving to get it done, but this is a contrast based army, so it tends to go quickly. So
I believe in you, Seth. You can do this, man. You can do
I
this.
believe in me too.
Are you still running your crazy list with 6 Sagittars?
Yeah, it's still the base
Beautiful.
of the list, but I'm just been parts moving around that. I'm trying to, really trying to. I'm making a concerted effort to try to do real well at the remaining events I have left this year, which are all Warzone Atlanta based events, and they have their
Yeah.
own terrain format. So I do have the kind of foreknowledge of what I'm going to be playing on in terms of their maps and their terrain rules. So I'm trying to maybe tinker with my list to make it a little bit more optimized for that. But
Well,
anyway.
your vehicle heavy list inspired me, so I am going to be running a list tomorrow, maybe Friday. I'm not sure when I can get my game in, but it's going to be going tank heavy. For guard, I've been going to infantry heavy for the start of the I guess edition, and now I'm like let's bust out a few more tanks, especially with the points cut for guard. Nikki D, guys, Nikki D, our producer, our third amigo here, he is still AWOL. He will be coming back in next week. Did he just land in the U.S., man?
He literally texted us just before the show that he just landed in the U.S., but he was out on his honeymoon here.
Is that him feeding a monkey? Is he feeding a monkey?
And that's what you would think. This is actually him feeding a top tier Eldar player.
Oh, there we go. Oh, snap. Well done, Seth. Well done. Yeah, but well done. Yeah, Nikki D was, I believe, in Morocco earlier this week, saying hi to the primates there and hanging out with everyone. And I guess he's feeding a monkey, whatever. That's awesome. Nikki D is excited to be running his Blood Angels. He's trying to figure out during all this travel time what detachment he's going to run with his Blood Angels. So we will find out next week. Seth, let's jump into industry news. Let's do it, man.
So,
Kicker, all right. I think Joy Toy.
Yeah.
Joy Toy finally got me, man. They got me. They got me good.
How'd they get you?
I could care less about Space Marines.
Is it with these?
Yeah. Oh, look at those beautiful, beautiful babies. This is the brand new Joy Toy Cadian action figure set. This is a set of Cadian like action figures, which is just amazing. Space Marines get all the glory, but come on, we need some generic guardsmen, man.
So pre-show when you put these in the notes and I was getting the images, I had to go hunt for them because they weren't actually announced, I believe, on any of the GW sites. It was just on Joy Toy's site.
Yeah.
And so I was on Joy Toy sites, like looking through getting some of these images, and I realized just how many models they've released. This is not a limited release, man. There's orcs, there's a bunch of different chapters of Space Marines, there's Chaos Space Marines, there's special characters, there's Cadians, like there's Necrons, there's
vehicles, dude. There's vehicles.
Yeah. So they have definitely gone deep with this this particular like licensing product. So
to be clear, Joy Toy, for those not in the know, Joy Toy is not some sort of a sex toy, vibrator thing or anything. No, this is just sorry, I can say it, right? Yeah, it's literally action figures. So it's going to give you pleasure.
And they're I've seen them. They're in person. They're very detailed. They're articulated, so they move really well. So you can do a
Yeah.
bunch of different poses. Yeah, they're really cool.
And I think they have like hand swap. So if you want their hands to be
Yep.
like holding a weapon, there's an option for a hand like that, or you can swap
Yeah.
the hand out at the wrist and put like a closed fist.
Yeah, I mean, I have all the orc ones on my like Amazon wish list for one day.
Yeah.
They are a bit pricey. They're not.
So I think they're
not
more expensive than the McFarlane,
Yeah,
but
the
cheaper than
McFarlanes
the
are
Bandai.
like $20-ish, maybe 30, depending on the one you're getting. These are more like 50, 60, and then your big ones are like 100 plus price range. So it is definitely probably like I would say it's like the top tier of figurines of 40K, not models, obviously. That's a
Seth, read chat. Tell us, chat. Anyone in chat's got a Joy Toy figure? Do you want to say the pros and cons about it? Tell us. Seth's following along with chat. The cool thing about these Cadians is that it's like right from the box, the new Cadian set. Like these are the exact models, exact pose that's on the box cover, art. So this is clearly,
even that goofy antenna that's like wider than the guy.
Yeah. I know, that's like, oh shit.
Okay.
Yeah, the goofy comms character is made it into action figure format, which is unfortunate. I would have gotten excited about a different sort of pose or different model, but whatever. Let's talk about the pre-orders coming up this week. We've got the Horus Heresy box set as well as a bunch of other models coming out with this. So this box set is pretty sick. I don't like Space Marines. I don't play 30K, but I want this box set mainly because of that Dreadnought. That Dreadnought is just bad. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Boom. Look at that. It's got multiple weapon options.
Yeah.
Seth, do you see the potential for this in 40K? I mean, well,
they have removed like things like the Derodeo from 40K in the rules, but always whenever they like have, go back whenever they release a box set that is like, bro, do you want like a bajillion Space Marines? Like that always is a great starting base for people that are collectors or converters. I know I've done a few paint project armies in the past where I got a bunch of like 30K plastic Marines to be like, this is my army of Marines is an older army that are beat up and they've got old Mark's armor because they don't have good new fancy stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a thing I've seen a lot of people use, and I think I mean, even if there aren't necessarily rules for everything in here for 40K, like if there isn't rules for Proteus, Land Raider, and a Derodeo, just that many Marines, I think a lot of 40K players could certainly put to use, particularly with the Marine Codex coming out.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. We've also got books. Seth and I are both literate people. Did you know that? We read. We're educated. We do prefer books with photos in them or pictures if possible, but we have a few traditional books, no photos inside. We got the brand new Fall of Cadia book. We've got an Angron book and an Admech book. So this is kind of cool because they're trying to appeal to all different players and people that play different armies. Obviously me being a guardsman, I'm super excited for the Fall of Cadia. Angron, he's always a fan favorite, but an Admech book, I didn't see that one coming. So it's nice to see the diverse range of literature out there. Seth, are you still reading any Black Libraries or anything on your?
I've taken a break from Black Library. I'm actually reading the Altered Carbon series right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
I thoroughly enjoy sci-fi, but I just wanted something a little different for a bit.
Confession. When you say reading, are we talking about like with your eyeballs or with your ear balls? I don't know. With your eyeballs. Okay. So traditionally reading, I like, I am literate and I do like to read. I've really been listening to more books than ever before, especially currently with a newborn. So I can be rocking the baby and listening to gruesome violence in the 41st millennium. So
I love a good book on tape. I usually do those when I'm doing like long distance drives.
Yeah. Totally.
Like if I'm going to sit down and listen, I need to listen for like a couple hours, not like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Long paint sessions, definitely we'll put on an audiobook. Dude, all right, I know this is going to make you excited. The brand new Votan mini, man, and this is for Warhammer Day. We talked about it previously.
Wrath?
Yeah, okay, is this a must-have? Is this something you got to buy?
This is like, before my RTT on Saturday, I'll be like, GW, please give me one.
Add to cart, right? Yeah. Bye. So this model is done for Warhammer Day. Warhammer Day is happening this Saturday, the 14th. A lot of reveals. I think it's starting at 9 a.m. I want to say Eastern time.
I checked specifically, but I mean, I'm sure you can find all the times in the appropriate time zones on GW's Warhammer community page.
It's been confirmed 40K, Age of Sigmar, the new old world. I don't know, the old like Squarehammer, I think is getting some coverage, I think. And then we're going to have some Kill Team as well. So those are, I think, the big 4 focuses for this particular reveal. It should be a big one. Warhammer Day is kind of the big one, the big announcement for GW. So let's see what they're going to roll out. Do you want to take a prediction? Just a wild shot in the dark, Seth? Come on. What do you think?
Ooh, that's tough. So, from a 40K standpoint, I'm actually not sure what they're gonna. I guess they could.
Come on, it's gonna be a codex, right? The next codex is right.
But they've already kind of told us what the they gave us the roadmap
Yeah,
earlier, so
but
we
maybe they'll
kind of
give us like
know
a drop
what.
date or maybe a preview of the new miniatures or something.
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, I think maybe some new miniatures for that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't see them announcing anything wild 40K wise in terms of like a new faction
Yeah.
or a codex that we didn't know was already in the queue. Um, so that's definitely, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm hoping to see. I want to see a full like what are we getting into in terms of fantasy,
Yeah.
and I really want to see if they can the kind of what are they calling it? Legion Imperialis,
Oh, epic
the epic
thing.
scale, because they
Yeah.
previewed that over the summer, but they didn't really give us much more.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to go into too much of the details, but I think it's pretty much public knowledge. There was some delays. I don't feel comfortable going into the reasons for the delays, but there were delays. It's a product line. It's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
just it's not
Well,
happening as a.
we talked about it this summer. I was like, I would be interested in picking that up and playing it as just kind of a fun get together game, and then it kind of just
It's
shelved for a while.
it's still happening. I
I know,
promise.
I'm sure it is, and that's why I just want more. I just want more.
Well, okay. So one of the things that they should be showing this reveal, I guess on Saturday, is Kill Team. Now, I believe this is just me theorizing here. I don't have inside knowledge on this, but it seems like the Into the Dark, room to room combat of the last, I guess, season of Kill Team will be going into a new season. We don't know. Like, we know those Space Marine scouts, right? Like, this is just me using the knowledge that's out there in the world, right? We've seen Space Marine scouts, but they were not released with this current Space Marine drop, right? So I have to think maybe these Space Marine scouts are going to be one of those Kill Team things. I get excited for every Kill Team release, anytime there's a Kill Team release, because they always try new novel factions, new novel, units. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a really cool Kill Team release with some exciting stuff. Chat, what do you guys think? What do you think is coming in this big reveal this weekend? I'm curious to see what they think.
Yeah, well, chat, let us know what you think.
Yeah, let's see what they're thinking. Let's talk about the FLG news here, though. This is and well, GW's news is big. It's not as big as FLG news. We've announced our 2024. I
challenge any individual GW employee to a feats of strength.
All right, Seth, the honor of FLG. My friend Seth will challenge any GW employee to a feat of strength. Seth, I mean, I'm waiting for a response from GW.
Yeah, we will accept.
You can take him, dude. I believe you. Yeah. I mean, I know
Roman Grecan wrestling at LVO or something like that. Little do they know I'm going to be getting Paul the Barbarian to help me do some training.
Yeah, you can get Paul. You can call him back up. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. So we've announced our 2024 season calendar. Look, there's a nice little graphic. Woo! What we're doing is we're going to slowly reveal all the different characters. So the artwork's kind of cool. It's supposed to be like your opponent you're going against. So you see the LVO logo. It's that cyborg robot dude. With Cherokee, there you go. We've got our bear. But anyway, we're really excited. We've got the events you know and love. We got LVO. Then Cherokee in February. Then the Rocky Mountain Open is coming back. That was the fastest event ever to sell out for us. Yeah. So Rocky Mountain Open is definitely when you want to get your tickets pretty quickly once that drops. That's going to be March. Then we have BAO in May, followed by ACO in June. And then July is LSO, which is our military appreciation event in Texas. And then we've got SoCal again, which is a massive surprise. Oh, wait, did I forget something? We got SoCal. Then the massive surprise in October. And then November is going to be Cruise Hammer. SoCal is happening. The 2023 SoCal is happening in a few weeks. SoCal 2024, we're adding in a very exciting new addition to the Frontline Gaming, I guess, events circuit. Yeah, we'll go into more detail with that later. I know a lot of people have been asking, but if you know, you know. Some of the community leaders across the country are helping make this thing happen.
But I do know that you and I have been getting questions about, when is the dates for events? So this is your dates for 2024 to be looking out for. If you're like me and you got to put in time off requests like 17 years in advance, you can get it done. As far as I'm aware, Kicker, and as far as you're willing to say, I don't think we have any major changes to physical location, like city-wise for.
No, everything is the same location, same venue. Yeah.
So if you're planning ahead and you're like, hey, I need to get to. I really want to go to Dorian's in chat asking about LSO. So if you're planning to get to LSO, it's the same town as before. This is the timeline. So you can start planning your travel and haranguing your friends to to join you on your
And
adventures.
guys, we don't put up the room booking link until we put up the tickets, because first of all, we have to get that from the venue, and the venue does not necessarily provide us. So like, I don't have the Texas room block discount yet because that's not even populated by the Marriott. But as soon as those tickets are live, we will have the room block, and we also allows everyone to have same access to get those room block discounts. The room blocks tend to sell out.
They do.
So guys, same location, same rough time as we did previously.
So get your calendars out. Everyone, grab your phones and start programming in the dates. So when you're like, oh crap, I do need to ask for that weekend off. You got it off.
The one weekend that we're not exactly sure is for SoCal's weekend in 2024.
And that is clearly marked with question mark dash
with
question
mark. It's sometime in October. We're just not sure which of the 2 weekends we're waiting for.
A year away, so we still are going to give you some lead
over
time.
A year away.
Yeah,
over a year
away.
Oh yes, and somebody did mention in chat. Cruisehammer moved from August to November. That's kind of a change there.
So hot take, Kicker. You have taken a Caribbean cruise. Cruisehammer before. I have taken multiple of those. I have taken them in the summer, and I have also taken them in November.
Okay.
November's way better.
Now, why is that? I mean, I know why, but tell the listener, why is November better, Seth?
Because it's like 80 degrees and sunny in the Caribbean in November, and in the summer it's like 100 degrees and melting. So you're like, particularly if you live, I have friends that live in like the northern portions of the U.S. that when we do this like, fall, like late fall, like cruise, they're like, this is amazing because it's just cloudy and rainy and snowing where I live, and I can just go out and sit in the sun for a couple of days. So I think I'm excited to see it move to November. I know you, Kicker. I don't know if you get the seasonal, depression of it's fall and it's cold and it's rainy.
I generally, that's my favorite season. But yes, fall. But like for most of the country, fall is cold. If you're in the Caribbean, guess what? It's not cold there. It's a perfect place to escape. So that was one of the big reasons.
Is that time of year.
a lot of the people that go to Cruisehammer that have been going to Cruisehammer year after year are located in the northern parts of the country. So this is kind of a nice little escape. And also, I mean, just mix it up a little bit for people that couldn't make the August time frame for whatever scheduling conflict. So keep it exciting.
We have Marcus Tanner in chat saying Cruisehammer was the best, but summer was too damn hot.
Yeah,
and
there we
that's
go.
Why it's in November now, Marcus.
And Marcus is my 40K Imperial Guard spirit animal. I don't know. He helps guide my choices when it comes to list building there. But yeah, Marcus was on Cruisehammer this year. Hopefully there'll be a lot of the Frontline Gaming crew on Cruisehammer 2024. I know myself and several of the other guys are trying to make it happen. My wife is like 80% on board. I can't go without my wife. She won't let me go.
This one, Kicker. KR Quintero says, I lived in NOLA. August in the Caribbean is a break. Fair enough. I've been to New Orleans in August, and it is unpleasant.
Yeah. I mean, New Orleans is this weird little like hellhole in the summer, but that's okay. All right, should we we got to talk about nerd news, dude. Now I know Nicky D. This is usually his wait, before we talk about it, let's show the Cherokee artwork up close. Do we have a photo of that bear? I want to show that bear
up close.
We know I uploaded it to the presentation. Did
you
yeah.
upload this bear?
I was on top of the thing. Look at it. There we go.
Look at that bear.
There we go. There's a bear. Yeah. So there's our Cherokee.
I want to affectionately name the bear War Games Joe Bear.
War Games Joe. Let's do it. Sure, man. There's our Cherokee artwork for 2024. It will be on all the shirts and objective markers, and we'll have those sexy dice in the same colors. Yes, it is a bear. Each event has got kind of its icon that we're trying to go with. And that is done by Thomas Reedy, our beloved, also known as Goat Boy, our Frontline Gaming artist. So yeah, that is the official artwork for 2024 Cherokee. Next month, we'll be releasing the artwork for Rocky Mountain Open. We're actually still taking ideas. So if you have ideas for Rocky Mountain Open, we'd love to hear it because we want to make sure something that is representative of the mountains. And we don't want to do like a goat or anything. It's got to be something like cool. Actually, a Beastman goat could kind of work, like a mountain goat. I don't know. What do you think, Seth? What do you think?
I got to stew on that one a little bit more.
All right. A dwarf, like a mountain dwarf kind of thing, right?
All I think about when I think about like the Rocky Mountain region is Rich Kilt. So like,
okay,
I don't know
sure.
if we can use him as a logo.
I don't know if we can use his likeness. He's a wonderful gentleman, but I would feel awkward doing that. All right, nerd news time. Nicky D is not here. This is generally his topic, so we're going to fill it in. Seth, I'm asking you straight up now. We always talk about movies and stuff that I'm kind of interested about. But you are a video game expert. Let's talk about what's happening in the world of video games. Anything relevant that we need to talk about for 40K fanatics?
There is. I really want to, take the moment and not divert this into a horror movie discussion, which I really wanted to do tonight.
No horror. You talked about that
But
last week.
I
No
know.
more horror movies.
So I got drawn back into Warhammer 40K Darktide, which is it's like a cooperative horde shooter. You're running around.
Is it first person shooter?
It is. You're first person. You're basically guardsman, Kicker. You're your penal troops that the Inquisitor is like, go out there and fight and die for the Emperor. And you can pick different classes and you just fight hordes of like chaos stuff. It's amazing. It was fun at launch, but it was very much kind of a bare bones game at launch. And I had been I played it a bit with my friends. I think I even played it in a live stream with the Grim After Dark guys once. And I played it and I kind of set it down. And then I was sitting here trying to like come up with a game I wanted to play. And then I decided, I've been seeing that there's a lot of updates and they kind of revamped the whole system. So I hopped on it and it is fantastic. They have added little cutscenes to it, to all the different like stores you interact with. They've got more cutscenes with like the Inquisitor and the Inquisitor staff that are overseeing you. So it's super cool. I've very much been enjoying it. I think if you have played that game and you kind of stepped away from it, and now's a great chance to hop back in. Or if you're curious to play a game with your friends, hop on in. And if anyone wants to play with me, let me know. I'm having fun playing it every night whenever I finish painting.
Find Seth, hit him up on Facebook or in Discord. Tell him you want to play some Darktide with him. Seth, there's that other video game. What is it? Starfield? Star. I mean, is this? Did you play that at all? I know a lot of people I know have been playing that game. Is this game totally different concept? So there's no overlap, or is that a game that also appeals to you?
It's so I bought Starfield and I enjoyed it for like the first 10 hours. But to me, it kind of fell flat in the it lacks a threat. Like it's a cool story and it is definitely very much a role playing game, but there is not a threat. Like when you go on a mission, like you can probably avoid most enemies, and there's like maybe 3 or 4 on a mission, and you're like, cool. And then they're like, go across the galaxy and find this thing. And you're like, okay, that's going to be hard to do, right? And they're like, nah, just click this thing like 4 times and you can hop across the galaxy. And I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't seem nearly as hard. And I just flew across the world. So that was cool. And I found the thing. And they're like, yeah, you found the thing. Great. And I'm like, was that it? They're like, yep, come back now. So I think it's something that over time, as either A, Bethesda mods it, or B, the community mods, it could certainly get more of that survival element to it. But right now there's just like there's no threat to you, there's no risk to do things.
The only so I'm gonna throw this
died is when I teleport my ship into an area where they're like much higher level ships than me.
Well, dude, like you told me Darktide kind of got boring after a little while, and now you love it. Maybe the same thing happens with this game, right?
And that's exactly my point. Is I'm like, I gave Darktide some time to mature and develop, and then I came back to it, and now it's great. So sweet. I'm not uninstalling Starfield. It's there. It's waiting for its time.
So, Seth, let's hop into the main segment here, guys. We wanted to know why people collect the armies that they do. Seth and I come from very different backgrounds in terms of our hobby, like why we got into the hobby and what we, how we interact with this hobby, right? Seth, has very different viewpoints, and there's not really a right or wrong, although Seth is probably wrong, I'm probably right. I mean, usually that's the way it is. Right,
I think I can just give me 1 second here. Oh, look at that. Kicker's gone, everyone.
Disappear. Am I muted too?
Wait. So who was right and wrong?
All right. Bow down. Yeah. All right. Fine. You're right. Right. So let's talk about the armies we each have collected over the years, and both Seth and I have been playing this game for a very long time. Let's figure out the armies we like, the armies that we've committed to, and why, and then that we can kind of dissect that into what's happening here.
So let me start us off, Kicker.
Shoot.
We both have a bunch of armies, and we kind of have them listed here in our notes. What army do you think defines you? Like, what is your army? Your heart of hearts. What's your army?
Okay, so my heart of hearts, the army that I can always go back to and I've always loved, even when the rules have sucked or I've painted a million models, is Guard. Like, I don't get sick of Guard. I love Guard for so many reasons. Now, do you mind if I go into the reason why, or should I say that?
So why did you collect that army?
I think from a like Guard was the reason I got into 40K. I read the Gaunt's Ghost books, and that got me into the hobby. So like the gateway drug was the books. I love the books. Gaunt's Ghost was my jam. When Hurricane Katrina hit, I lost everything, but I saved my Gaunt's Ghost books. Like that is my prized possession, and that was really like that is how I perceived 40K was through the eyes of the everyday grunt,
and
not
that was
through
a great book series. I read it too.
Yeah, right. It's great. Even if you don't like Imperial Guard, like it's still a cool
Yeah.
book to read. So for me, when I play 40K, I perceive it through the view of Guardsmen, not through Space Marines or Eldar or anything else. So Guard has just been my favorite army since I got into this. Now, that could be purely because of this nugget that was kind of, ingrained into my DNA from a young age. Now I'm a grown ass man and I still love Guard. So anyway, that's where I'm at. What about you, Seth? What is, I mean, I think we know this, but maybe clarify for the people.
So,
what is your love?
So the army that is like my heart of hearts is orcs. Everyone knows that. I call myself the Mad Dog. And it very much was an army that I started in 2012. It was when I got back into the game after being out in college. And this is really kind of the start of my trip through 40K as an adult. It was like the first time I really had significant amount of disposable income and also the time and patience to learn skills. So it's the army that I've been able to improve as a painter with. It's the army I've been able to improve as a general with. It's also been an army that's just very different models. It gives you the opportunity to convert. You can build things straight out of the box. So it kind of scratched a lot of itches for me at the time where it let me try things as a modeler, it let me try things as a painter, and it let me try things as a general. And so all of that was appealing to me. And it ended up being a lot of fun to play. And I always say, whenever I'm playing an opponent, and the games that always feel bad to me is like the ones where, it feels bad when you're losing, but it also feels bad when you're beating your opponent and your opponent is like, I'm not into this, I'm not having fun. And you're like, well, particularly at a tournament, like, well, I still need to finish the game and I need to get my points and I feel bad. Orcs are always that army that even if you're beating your opponent, they still feel like they're in the game. They still feel like they're doing something because they're killing so much of your army. So it's always been a good experience for me and my opponent while playing orcs. So
that's an amazing point, Seth. Seriously, because orcs die. Like
and that wasn't a thing I thought about when I started collecting them. I started collecting them because the models looked cool and I saw them as a hobby opportunity. So
that was that okay? So Guard orcs were one of your first armies. I'm looking at the notes. It looks like you had an army before that. We'll hop into that next. Guard were my first army, but that was not my first like I'm going to a tournament army because I didn't go to a tournament when I first got into this. It was just like what I thought was cool. So I loved Guard, but my first like I'm going to my first big GT. I'm putting my big boy pants on and going to a GT was was Knights, because I thought that's like baby's first competitive army. It's relatively few models. It was easy to get on the table. Like it was a cognitive decision that this is an army that I can play easily. I have the I guess the comfort of knowing that like they're pretty durable. So this was
and it's
in
less
8th edition I started
to manage.
Yeah, and it was relatively and also I will say I loved Canis Rex. I love the idea that you could blow up his suit of armor and then you have the little trooper on the floor. Like I don't know, I love that little rule. But basically that was my first in 8th edition is when I started going to tournaments as a player, as a competitive player. And I'm like, I like Knights. They're a fun, easy army to play. But I did not like the fact what you said was that sometimes you play against somebody and they couldn't handle you, and you would destroy them, and they didn't
Knights
kill a
very
model.
much can be a stat check army where they're just like, you don't have the tools to deal with all these big things. Sorry.
And it hurts people's feelings if they kill like one knight and you still have like 4. Like it's just not like with orc or one of the things I like playing with Guard is that even if I'm winning, at least they kill all these infantry and they get that feels good if I'm killing shit. If they're playing orcs, they're killing all those bodies. Knights, it's like they either kill you or they can't, and then it just feels bad when you destroy them. So I quickly got out of Knights. That was a very short-term thing. Seth, what was your first, I guess, I know you have, what was your first army that you ever had?
So the first army I ever had is not actually the army on this list. The first army I ever had was Chaos Space Marines. But that was not an army I chose to start. It was an army of opportunity where I was very young. I was trying to get into the game. I basically had some pocket money and some stuff to trade to another guy to get an army, and that's the army I got. The first army I chose to start from scratch was Tau, and that was when Tau released in 2001, because at the time
that was right when they released. They came in 2001. Okay, cool.
That's when they released. And at the time I was a teenage boy. I liked fighting robots, and they were like, hey, what if there was this army with like robots that flew around and shoot things? And I was like, I love that idea. And so it very much like rang true aesthetically to me. And then it was an army because it came out when like I bought the first codex. I was able to follow the lore of that army as it developed over the editions. And it's been really cool. It's probably my favorite army lore wise to follow because the story has been advancing and it's been advancing in a logical fashion that
Oh, that's cool.
introduces the new units as the game has progressed. So that's been really fun. I've continued to hold on to that army because I have a nostalgic appeal to it. This was the first army I started from scratch. I've enjoyed following the story, so I always end up picking up all their codexes anyway to read through them. It does have a play style on the table that can lead to feels bads, and so I'll play it for a bit, but then I tend to put it away because of the feels bads. But
Yeah.
it's definitely an army that I have outgrown hobby wise. It's not a paint scheme that I am super happy with at this point because I know I can do it better, but I'm also sort of committed to how much I've already done. So it's not really an army I do for the hobby. It's an army I do for it has nostalgia and I've enjoyed the lore behind it.
Yeah.
What
Cool,
about you,
cool,
Kicker?
cool.
What is one of your other your armies? Maybe one that you're really devoted to the hobby behind.
Well, into the hobby on. Well, I want to go with the natural progression
Okay.
of because as me as a player, right? Because I had these nights,
Yep.
and then I'm like, I want to go. I was only driving to tournaments, and then I'm like, I want to do something that okay, it's part of the hobby progression. I want to do something more than just paint giant robots,
Mhm.
but I want to do something that has more tactical flexibility on the tabletop.
Mhm.
But I also want an army that I could travel with in a carry on and fly to LVO with.
Yeah.
Like my thought process is, my knights were built in such a way that they were not going to fit into a carry on.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's just no way. My paint job, yeah, it's not. So I'm like, I got to make a new army. What is it? What is an army that is still relatively low model count, far more tactically flexible, and that basically every single place that a person has, it's Marines. Everyone has Marines. So I'm like, I will just start a Marine army to be my LVO army. And that was the first army I brought to LVO as a player, not as a employee, not as a manager or event manager. And I really liked my Marines. I put a lot of time. I got custom decals on them. I made them look all pretty. But the thing is, like, that army played whatever, fine. It was tactically flexible, but I didn't really like Marines. I don't know, man. The style just this
I
was
completely
just
forgot that
didn't.
I put pictures of my armies.
Oh, we got photos in here.
Yeah.
So there's photos of your orc army.
Yep.
Look at that beautiful orc
Yeah.
army. I don't have any photos because I was lazy on the presentation here.
Yeah.
But Marines were fun in terms of like they offered a lot of opportunity. They were travel friendly, but like I didn't like like I didn't enjoy hobbying on them, right? So I know you're asking me what was a hobby love. I did enjoy hobbying on these more than knights because there's flexibility there, but I didn't really like the Marine aesthetic or the lack of, I guess, conversion options or customization. Seth, what about you though? What did you graduate? So we got orcs, we got Tau. What else
Yeah.
do you got in your?
So then the next thing I did, and this is the bending the knee to the competitive army.
Oh,
I started and it was middle to near the end of 8th edition. I decided that I had been collecting the Primaris Marines as they had been coming out as a paint project. I decided I wanted to spin that into a full army, and I ended up playing Marines. I think it was actually for the 2020 LVO. I brought
yeah,
Marines, but I brought them with a goal of I wanted to do something very different because if you remember, like I said, I had been the Tower like my starter army. The paint scheme
yeah,
hasn't really been something I could evolve very much. The orcs allowed me to do a lot, but the orcs once the scheme was established, I kind of had to keep to that scheme, so I couldn't do something too crazy. And I had been hearing about a lot of things like oil washes and a lot of
yeah.
metallics, and I really wanted to try it out. So I really wanted to do a marine army from the ground up with things like scenic bases, painting them in subassembly. I got custom decals for these Marines. I really went all in on them from a hobby standpoint. And ended up, I love the result that they came out as. They were a labor of love in terms of like learning the techniques to do this kind of, and it's very much a riff off of the storyline early in 8th edition where the Primaris Marines were introduced, and there was supposedly some gene seed that maybe came from some Traitor Legions, maybe not.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, so I did it both from a competitive standpoint because it was an army that I knew I could play on the tabletop and have good results, but also I really wanted to push myself into a new area competitively in terms of painting because I did, and these were the models that I was painting these with the goal of I wanted to enter these models in painting competitions when I was
Oh,
done, and I
nice.
did actually win a few best painted awards for this army, so I was very happy with that. I did like a whole display board theme to it, and really went all in on trying not only to have a army that I could play competitively, but an army I could really be proud of hobby wise.
Cool.
And
so Seth, this is 2020 LVO. You're bringing Space Marines. I'm bringing Space Marines.
Really?
I was running. I think was this the time of Iron Hands? I think this was the time of like the Iron Hands. Yeah, I was not running Iron Hands. I was running Ultramarines because I wanted flexibility. What were you running? Iron Hands?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay, all right. I just tried to
I wanted an army that like. And I specifically made this Marine chapter to be like chapter agnostic, so that it could be
whatever you wanted to be.
I future-proof the Marine army, that if I ever want to circle back to it, I could play it as whatever.
Pro tip there,
KR Quinn's a Space Wolf guy in chat. If Space Wolves became the thing, and I wanted to play this army, I could slap in some Space Wolf models. I should have thrown a picture in there. Like I have Shrike painted up in this scheme.
So we're both at LVO. We're both running
painted up in this scheme. So.
We're both at LVO. We're both running Marines. We're both there running Marines for kind of two different reasons.
Yep.
You wanted competitive edge. You wanted to level up your hobby skills. I wanted to get a more flexible army, both on the painting side, but also on the board, and also for travel friendliness. But after the LVO and playing the Marines, I kind of like, I just didn't have passion for painting anymore with them. I didn't really like, there's just no passion in the hobby side. Like I know Marine aesthetic is kind of the poster board for GW, and a lot of people like them, but for me, it was just not my thing. So Seth, after LVO 2020, I jumped to Orcs. And this became a year-long hobby project of mine. Every single model was converted to be kind of a feral snakebite themed army. This was a full year of work. I mean, every single damn, I was going to curse a lot. Every single one of these little bastards was beautifully painted with like tribal war paint. Like they looked so badass. And the army is gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. Yep. I played like 3 games with it. So after full years of work, I'm like, I played 3 games of it, loved it. But the hobby side is what I loved. I kind of didn't like playing Orcs. No offense to you, Seth, but the style was not my style. It was just a horde. I made a horde army.
Just throw more bodies at it. Just throw.
Yeah, it was a horde army, and it was a lot of moving of parts, and just not my thing. So I did enjoy. I got that purely for the hobby side. It was a beautiful labor of love, kind of like your Marines, but unfortunately, it was just a one-sided relationship, just the hobby side. What about you, Seth? So did you stick for Marines for the rest of that year?
So I ended up going back to Orcs later in that year, but the next army I started was actually you and I meeting together on this one, which was last fall. We both did our Votan.
Yes.
And it was very much, again, it was inspired by, this is a new thing. This is kind of cool and different. But also, in between me doing this big hobby project for these Space Marines and then continuing my Orcs and my Tau, that was when GW released the contrast range. And I was like, oh man, if I could use this to paint my Orcs years ago, I'd have done all my Orcs in contrast. And so you and I decided we both wanted to start this army. We were going to see who could paint up 2,000 points first. I won, by the way.
Yeah, you won that. You won.
But I really wanted to see what I could get out of the contrast range. So I did a lot of research on how to do different types of armor with contrast, and landed on this scheme, and I've been very happy with it. And now recently I've come back to painting that scheme, and it's been really easy for me to pick that scheme up and replicate it again quickly. So I'm happy with that. This army played.
To be clear, you got into Votan because you wanted to try contrast paint on it. Was that
I wanted to do something, a new scheme from the ground up. Also, if you look at my previous pictures here, Kicker, let me just scroll back.
You're back. You're back with them. You're back with them. Yeah, you're doing.
Hold on. So predominant, theme color here in Orcs is green.
Yeah.
And then I have Tau, which is green.
Yeah.
And then I have Space Marines.
Yeah.
Which is green.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to do a not green themed army. I still managed to get some green in there. But if I make fun of you for your earth tones, people can make fun of me for all of my green armies.
Yeah, I do like my. So you got into Votan because of the contrast, new hobby project. With me, I got into Votan the same time we did it together. We held hands, like we're just jumping in on this. Seth, though, I did it purely because they're new and shiny. I mean, it was like, oh, shiny object, go for them. I have no real desire. I mean, I bought an entire Votan army, I painted it up fast, but not to your standards, and definitely not an army that I've run since. I got distracted, guys. I got distracted by the new shiny army, and that was purely something I'm shameful of. I quickly, so that was the Votan story. I do want to say though, man, between Orcs and Votan, I did not do one but 2 other armies.
Yeah.
so we did. I did AdMech because
Yeah, right.
AdMech showed off those shiny new.
And you, yeah,
When it gets shiny new, the cavalry. I love
Yeah.
cavalry. I love cavalry in any format, whether it's orcs, squighog boys, or this AdMech like. I guess sulfur hounds and raiders. I love those cavalry models so much that I started an entire AdMech army for the second half of 8th edition, purely because those stupid models. I don't even like AdMech. I don't like the aesthetic of AdMech. I don't like the rules of AdMech, but I love that cavalry so much that I maxed out the units and I went deep into it. And I did that entire army kind of like I did the orc snake bite army I did.
Mhm,
It was
yeah.
a passion project to focus on models I like, but the orcs was because of the conversion potential. This was because of the actual miniature from GW. I love the
They
miniature
were
so
new,
much. I'm
and they
like,
were
I'm just
very
going deep.
different than things that GW had released previously. It was a new
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I got to admit, I got into Eldar. I did an Eldar conversion project
Mhm.
as well, and that was purely because I wanted the most compact army I can make. That
Yeah.
I was excited about. So
Yeah.
that entire army was purely designed to go for cruise hammer, so I could put it into a small little bag and make it travel friendly.
And you did that kind of with the Exodite themed, where they were all,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
animal and wilderness themed.
yeah. Seth, man, thank you for yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
remember your armies.
you remember my armies,
It's
yeah?
like
So
we
my,
look at
I
each
mean,
other's pictures of their hobby progress every week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a while now. Wow, we've been doing this for a while. Yeah,
We
so
have.
I did Eldar, and I really do like to convert my armies. So I'm like, there's only a few models. I'm putting them all into this little tiny case. Let me make each model in that army kind of based off of the the Age of Sigmar tree people. I don't know, the Sylvaneth stuff. So it was a really fun army. Travel, but the reason for that army was conversion fun, but also travel potential. But ease of travel for Cruise Hammer back in last year. But Seth, you did another army though. I know
Mhm.
you've got one other
Yeah.
army. That's your thing,
And this
right?
was not an army that I wanted to start. This was
Okay.
an army that I acquired because I did it as a paint project.
Ah,
If you guys remember our former co-host Shelby, she wanted a Necron army, but she was not that she could play tournaments, but she was not a very fast painter. I having done some things with Votan and done some things with Space Marines, I picked up a few new paint techniques that I thought I could use to make a very battle ready Necron army really quickly. And so I agreed to paint the army for her with the rule that if she ever decided to sell the army, I would be the first one to get the option to buy it, because it was something that I became fairly proud of in terms of the results as I worked through it, because I got really good at doing a very quick battle ready scheme that got an army on the table quickly. I mean, you're looking at like 60 warriors, and I think it's like the
geez, yeah,
27 scarab bases, like the
massive
max
army.
numbers of it. And I did that very fast with an airbrush scheme. And so I was really excited with how it came along. So it's an army that I wasn't drawn to by aesthetics. I wasn't drawn to by lore. I wasn't drawn to by tabletop performance. It was an army that I was painting for a friend, that I fell in love with the painting process. And so when she decided that she wanted to downsize her collection, she reached out to me, and I bought that army back. And it's an army that I have some more models out for sitting in boxes that I haven't really done, but it's something that I know, like if I get the bug this weekend, I could crack open a few boxes of Lich Guard and build them up, and I could have them painted in a couple hours.
That's something very satisfying. If you
Yeah.
can have an army where you get that, I guess, little I know, an endorphin rush because you
Yeah.
finished a unit. You can do it quickly. I like painting guard tanks because I can paint them so damn fast, and it's like I can sit down for a weekend and have a beautiful tank done, and it hits that like you said, scratches that itch of like I want to complete
Ooh,
something. So
ooh,
that's
Kicker.
cool.
Artemis Steve
Yeah.
says you need to do Guard Blood Pact after this.
Oh, wait, who said that?
Artemis Steve.
Artemis Steve. Well, Artemis Steve, I don't want to go into the weeds here, but guess what my new hobby project is that I'm working on? It's not Chaos Guard. I do love Guard, and I have a very, as Seth loves to point out, earth tone, desert drab, guard army. I absolutely love this guard army,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, I kind of want to try a different guard army, completely different paint colors because I want to try something bold and bright. And I'm going to be using, as of like literally tonight, I was talking with Seth, just showing him some photos. I'm going to be using the bloodied veteran guardsmen from the Kill Team set. I'm going to be using their arms and Aid to Sigmar bodies, the cities of
Yeah.
Sigmar, the new
You were texting me
infantry.
some potential conversions before the show. Looks really good.
Oh, it's gonna be so sick because the bloodied or the chaos guardsmen, their arms are a
Yeah.
little bit more feudal looking, and putting them on the cities of Sigmar infantry. There's gonna be some like sculpting I'm gonna have to do and some green stuff and putty filling, but they're gonna look epic. So I'm gonna be making a feudal guard army as a new side side project for funsies. But that's the point though, right? We come back full circle. Guard is my love. I keep on coming back to Guard because it gives me the hobby opportunities like these feudal Guard. I enjoy the way they play. I get the endorphin rush from completing miniatures. Like I love the lore, man. I read all the damn books. So Guard is what I keep going back to. Orcs are yours, Seth, because you like the way they play, you like the conversions. So it's kind of like there's not one reason. You kind of get an army that has all the little elements that you want to enjoy from it, right? I mean, I guess some people get into it for one reason, but it seems like both you and I are aligned in that we like to have the full package.
Yeah, because if you don't enjoy the hobby end of it, like we spend a lot of time on the hobby, like a lot of time. I'd argue we spend probably more time building and painting than we do playing a lot of times.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So if you don't enjoy that, then what are you doing with the hobby? And like I know guys that get no enjoyment out of that, and you know what they do? They just have commission people to do their armies because it's like I don't enjoy that part. I'm just going to get someone else to do it, and that's totally fine.
By the way, FLG is a wonderful paint studio that does commission work.
And it can do everything from tabletop ready Necrons to award-winning Space Marines, whatever you want.
That's a nice little plug there. Yeah, well done.
I do have one tough question for you before we let the segment go, Kicker.
Shoot, do it.
Have you ever sold an army?
Oof! Ouch. Okay. Oh man, I have never sold an army. I've sold parts of armies because they're just models that I don't really care about. But I've never. I've never sold anything. I've never sold anything I've painted. There's just too much like pride in there. I don't know. It's just too hard. Like even stuff that I've had since like when I was in college, grad school. Like I haven't been able to get rid of. Seth, have you sold? Well, I mean, to Shelby.
Yeah. I painted somewhere, but I bought that back. And I specifically put that rule in place with that army because I have sold a few painted armies before, and I did regret it.
Yeah,
I had a fully this was before the time of them being strong. This was like a 6th and 7th edition project for me was Iron Hands, and I did them like really. This was like before there were a lot of easy bits for conversion, so I got a bunch of like Forge World bits. I bought they released a fine cast sprue of like Iron Hand shoulder pads and stuff. I must have bought dozens of those.
Yeah.
And I really went all out, kind of do weathering on them, a little battle damage on them. And it was an army that I was really I specifically picked, they were the 4th company and I got the 4th company logos for their shoulders. And I really went all in on a hobby project. And we were in a point in our life where we needed some extra money to get a house. And so I decided I sold off all of my fantasy armies, and I had sold, my wife had an Elder army. We sold that. And then I sold the Space Marine army, and I never regretted losing the Elder army. I never really regretted losing the fantasy armies, but I did regret that space. And that was one of the other reasons I went back and restarted collecting Space Marines was because I missed that project. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it bigger and better than last time. But that was one of the reasons was like, man, I really did feel bad about losing that army. And to be fair, the man I sold it to a couple years down the line decided he wanted to sell it, and he offered it back to me at the same price, and it just was not financially feasible for me at that point. But it was a thing where I was like, from now on, if I paint something, I'm going to hang on to it.
That's it unfortunately makes us all kind of pack rats, but there's so much love that goes into each model we paint. I mean, obviously that's not for everyone. People don't.
I've sold a few other projects before, and since then I've kept at least one model from the project.
Oh, that's cool.
I have when I sold off all that fantasy, I kept my Manfred von Karstein on his little thing he rides. I was like, I'm gonna keep that. That was a cool centerpiece model. I like it. I'm gonna keep that one. I kept when I sold the Iron Hands army, I kept my Ferrus Manus model.
That's cool.
I had a Dark Angels Fallen project I was doing for a while, and I kept my Cipher, because I was like,
that's a smart idea to keep one miniature. Because I'm like, I have way too many armies, and my wife and I are gonna be moving a little bit. Like it's whenever you move houses, I like to clear out stuff, and I got to get rid of some stuff. But maybe that's what I do. Is
I keep those one or two things from that army, or a squad or whatever, to be like, I remember it's still there.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that.
Let it go.
Kicker,
sweet.
We did a community poll on this subject of why people collect. Did you go through that poll and look at the results?
Yeah. We've got the data here. Thanks to you adding it to the notes. You beat me to it, Seth. So yeah, guys, if you ever want to participate in a poll,
co-host.
All right, no, wonderful, dude. I really appreciate it because I was running in a little late today. But whenever you want to participate in our polls, go to the Frontline Gaming Community Facebook group page on Wednesdays, sometimes Tuesdays. We post a poll. We love to know your opinion. Here, we like the whole company, the whole team really takes it to heart. It helps us make our decisions. This poll, though, was a little bit more, I don't know, just we were curious. What is the main reason you collect your army? So Seth and I just spent, 15, 20, 30 minutes talking about why we collect our armies.
We're running quite long tonight.
Yeah, right. We were running along. Jeez. But we want to know why you guys choose the armies you did. So we have aesthetics, lore, the hobby side, competitive strength, and if you want to play less common armies. We had a few other options as well, but these were the main ones.
The top 5 results.
The top 5. So starting off at the least was wanting to play a less common army. That's actually something I selected. I kind of like. It's fun to play an army that no one else has, right?
No
one
in
my meta
my
plays
decision
hard.
to play orcs when I was in the local store I was at starting an army. No one was playing them, and I'm like, they look cool, and
yeah. Well, surprisingly low, with only 9%, was competitive strength. I thought way more people, especially our audience, was going to say competitive strength.
But think about it, Kicker. Competitive strength comes and goes.
Yeah, that's
Codexes,
true.
balanced data slates, additions.
Yeah.
That comes and goes. So I could see that not being a driving factor for a lot of people, because if you are going to put all that money and effort into an army, and want to keep that army across editions, that can't be your driving factor for it.
Yeah. Well, totally makes sense. Then coming up, we were talking about this earlier. Hobby side with 13% of the votes. You're right, Seth. We spend more time hobbying this. Like I know you were saying, like we might spend as much time. Everyone spends more time hobbying. I mean, if you paint your miniatures, you're almost certainly spending more time hobbying than playing. That 13%. But then lore was 17%. It seems like a lot of people really do care about the fluff. Yeah. That's the second highest rated. Seth, are there orc books? Do you read? Is there orc fluff?
There are. There's the Gazgul book. There's actually like 3 or 4 books written from the orc perspective. I have most of them in my to be read pile. Except sometimes my dog eats my to be read pile, so that's a different discussion.
Not okay. And then number one reason with 46% that
which
I guess
more
people
by a mile, by the way.
Yeah, that's by a mile. That's huge. Aesthetics.
Yeah.
The reason is the aesthetics. I mean, like I was telling you with my AdMech, I got into the AdMech purely for the damn cavalry. Orc. You Seth, you love those. I
started the Tau because it was giant robots.
Yeah. So aesthetics. So GW, keep on making pretty miniatures, and we'll be jumping armies constantly.
We will keep buying them. All right.
We had some comments, a lot of comments. I can't collect them all, but Neil B says, I truly believe that the ones you like painting are the most will be the best. You're going to spend a long time assembling, painting, and playing the army, so you should love them. So I agree, though. The more time you paint that army, the more likely that is going to be the army that you love, and you'll end up rolling on the table. Seth, do you want to take the next comment?
This is from my buddy here in Alabama, Robert Chandler. He says, it's competitive strength. While y'all fucking lying in these votes.
And some of the competitive players are pretty accurate. Ben P says, I think we can all agree there are no wrong answers. Everyone collects for different reasons, be it competitive reasons or you simply like a faction. All are valid reasons, and that is a very true statement.
Yeah.
Seth, let's hop into the Frontline Entertainment news just to kind of say what's going on in the rest of the world.
So just a quick few plugs for our friends on the network. Our friends, the Professional Casuals, are back with their podcast. This is the Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? Their MCP show. And I believe, if I saw correctly, Kicker, as we were going live with our show, they were going live with their weekly live bat rep on MCP. Geez. So that's pretty cool. You were talking about how you think Kill Team is going to get a big reveal here on Saturday. The Squadcast guys just dropped their Kill Team tier list episode. So go take a listen to that. Although maybe things are changing in the near future. And then Kicker, I'm super excited to announce this because I have been hoping these guys we're going to take this step for a while. But our lovely friends, the Hobby Goblins, have finally launched their own YouTube channel. They had their first live stream Monday night where they did a bat rep where they call them cave reports because they're goblins who live in caves.
Of course,
So check them out. We just got them set up. So they should have their affiliate link for next week. Super excited to welcome Jacob and the crew into the fold. Love to have you guys and excited to see what you guys get to do.
Sweet. Seth, do we want to do any community-focused photos? We have a few. So guys, if you have really cool paint jobs or something you're really proud of, share it with us. Whether you send us a message or post it on our Frontline Gaming Community Facebook group. And we're going to want to, we like to show off the progress of.
And I might not pick everyone's photos, Dean. I love you, Dean, but you post every week. So I decided to get a few different ones this week. But I love what you do, Dean. But anyway, so to this week, everything is right in the world. My good friend Hunter Nichols is back to his beloved Space Wolves, painting Space Santa.
I love it.
Which gives you an idea of how the new Space Marine Codex is making people feel.
Yeah. Look at that, sharp colors.
Kicker, you were working on some Seraphon. Well, Patrick Fallone's also been working on some Seraphon. Looks like he's been using a lot of contrast there, which is always a great idea. I think in these kind of organic models coming out really well.
I swear the new Seraphon miniatures were built just with contrast. Like that was the whole game plan. Like let's just design for it.
Thomas Lund Mills is, I believe we saw his Great Unclean one the other week that had kind of that blood effect coming on. He's doing some nurglings with kind of the purulent debris effect there. We've got this one's my favorite for the alliteration purposes. Kevin Kurchowski's Cruel Boys that he's taking to his AOS event, which I didn't realize Cruel Boys could take a giant.
You know what, man? Yeah, I think you can ally in a giant, no problem. They're considered a destruction, so yeah.
But I love how he's got his little display board built into that carrying tray.
That's
so
smart.
It works quite well. We got Nathan Sims, who's posted a few times before. This is his kind of up-to-date Tau. I like these are Sky Rays, but check out the Seeker Missiles kicker of them kind of flying off the racks with that little green exhaust smoke coming out of him. And then I don't even think you've seen this one yet, Kicker. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's see it.
Remember our friends, the Hobby Goblins? They paint some of our trophies. They're working
they
on
do.
the SoCal trophy.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, that's the Choppa, baby.
Sexy.
It is looking good.
So SoCal is an orc focused event. We decided to have orcs be the logo for this year purely because orcs have won the past 2 SoCal events. So I guess we can announce it now. The trophy for SoCal Open is not a Imperial style chain sword. It is an orc Choppa. Look at that thing, man. Describe it.
Oh yeah. So this is definitely they still got more work to do, but it turned out great. It's got the SoCal logo. It's got the Frontline Gaming. It has some nice script on the top that says "Umis don't wah." They've got the checker pattern because it's orcs. You got to be checker pattern, but it's in the SoCal kind of teal blue color scheme. So it's coming along great. So I'm super excited to see the completed product. They sent me a few more pictures of it on the side, and it looks fantastic. So as always, excellent work over there at the Hobby Goblins, and they're always a huge supporter of events. So we just love to show off their work. But it is turning out pretty damn good, Kicker.
Yeah, and SoCal Open is going to be a nice large 40K event. It started off a little slower, but now we're bigger than last year, so
nice.
It should be fun.
Nice.
All right, dude, let's take it out for the night.
So final thoughts?
I'm legitimately stoked to have Nikki D back next week. We miss you, our third amigo. But no, I'm pumped. I'm going to be rolling some dice this weekend. Wish me luck, Seth. I'm trying a new card list, man. So going with even more tanks. Just see what happens.
I'm also going to be taking my Vote now to an RTT this weekend, which is why I have to go paint as soon as I get off the air.
Yeah. Okay. So Seth's got to paint. I got some hobby work done. Take us out, Seth.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Signals from the Frontline. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Good night, guys.
Whoa!